I was trying to record this video like 2 weeks ago or so, and then my computer crashed, so the crashes are still coming along, I guess. And then I just got demotivated and I forgot all about it. So here I am. This character was intended to be a test on armor since I was hearing a lot of good things about it. So I went with the whole armor stacking route. Not really innovating there, but just kind of seeing for myself. I wanted to test the new spirit gem. I think it's called, yeah, Iron Ward. Sorry if I'm a little bit rusty, but I haven't played this game in a bit. I forgot a good tad about how my characters even work. But yeah, I wanted to test Iron Ward, and since I was already building an armor character, it seemed like it would be a good opportunity. And honestly, on paper, Iron Ward looked pretty bad, and the short of it is pretty bad. This character ended up being just like the same old Herald of Blade, Herald of Blood, shield-based character that I had previously, and then I just like slotted in the Iron Ward in between. But you don't really use it much. Like, for the most part, it's just a shield charge character based on poison as an ailment. And the only times that you do use the Iron Ward is whenever you club your Plague Nova, and like it deals too much damage and doesn't really poison other mobs. So then this is like reset, and you can keep your Iron Ward stacked so that when that happens, you just use the Iron Ward, it pops, it inflicts the strong poison, and then the poison just loads Plague Bearer back up. But honestly, if that ever does happen, you can just like drop another shield wall and then just shield charge through and it'll fill back up. So I guess it is a little bit faster, but it's not really necessary. On that note, shield charge got severely nerfed in terms of damage. It's nice that it doesn't have a cooldown anymore, at least. But it got nerfed understandably so, because the damage was just too far up. And although it did get nerfed, we got shield wall reworked, which is probably old news since it's what most people seem to be doing for speedrunning. But yeah, like, if you wanted to play the shield charge poison build that I have on this channel from previous patch, the workaround is just using shield wall. And I guess it's worth mentioning that like the damage is slightly worse, it is slightly lower, but it's not the end of the world. Like, it's still good enough. In terms of clear, you won't feel much of a difference really, but when it comes to bossing, you might feel a little bit slow. And then, like, going back onto the whole armor thing, I was very pleasantly surprised. I mean, I know it's mostly the same experience that other players have had when testing armor. Like, it is a good chunk better than people expected. So, if I drop this charge, or I mean this shrine, this is how much life I'm running with. Like, I'm at tier 3, tier 4 maps, which isn't super deep. But even then, like, the fact that I'm doing endgame with this much life, and it's very, very safe. Like, I rarely ever get close calls, really. Just goes to show that the mitigation is working fairly well. I guess a slight upside is that since your life total is smaller, then your life potions end up healing a larger chunk of them. So, I don't know, there's that to it. You end up going through the same issues with like one-shots being what kill you, but you're not supposed to tank slams anyways, so maybe it's not a big deal. There's also a small detail regarding Blood Hunt, which I want you to notice here. So yeah, as I mentioned, the single target damage is notably weaker. But much as it was previously, probably gonna need a couple more. Yeah, like around there. So 50% of his life is bled, and then we use Blood Hunt, and he just dies. So it's weird. Like, Blood Hunt is technically dealing as much damage to the boss as he has been bled for. And we'll go into that in a little bit as to why it's weird. So yeah, let's see. What should we go for? Yeah, let's just go through the gear real quick. The spear is just a stat stick. All that matters is plus gem level. If you can get some extra attributes on your suffixes, that would be great. The rest isn't really very important. The armor is just as much armor as you can get, and resistances. If you can get any of the new modifier, which has elemental damage, or have armor applied to elemental damage, then that's great. But yeah, just gem level, flat fizz on the gloves. Just movement speed and armor, life, resistance. Nothing too fancy, really. There's something worth noting is getting spirit on your amulet. I'm not getting it on this character, but I'll mention why in a bit. And then for your shield, you don't want any life prefix, because you want all three of your prefixes to be armor, since that's what's scaling your damage, right? So yeah, that's the gear. Nothing too wild. We're going evasion and armor on our gear because we're using iron reflexes. The skills are mostly the same as before. You're doing the whole Herald of Blood thing where you get poison so that the explosions can poison, and then the explosions that poison can trigger Plague Burst. The explosion deals physical damage, so if you have a 100% chance to bleed on your tree, then that will trigger the Herald of Blood, and then it just cascades off of itself endlessly. And then you're scaling the poison because most of the tree is adequated around bleeding. So if you can scale your poison, that'll make the chains more consistent. And then you're using Herald of Plague so that the poison is spreading around a little bit better. Plague Bearer is the main appeal here for clear, so that you just spam Plague Nova back to back. We've supported it with chance to bleed, so that it can get the cascade going with the Herald of Blood, and then Deliberation for more damage, and Deep Cuts for more poison damage. So it's kind of nice, like, you get a strong initial bleed here, and then you outsource your clear to your Spirit Gem. This is something that's very nice about attack-based builds, which spellcasters usually can't do. And then we're using Iron Ward, which was the new thing that I'm testing. It's basically supported the same way as Plague Bearer is for the most part. You can also use like Astral Projection for it to be safer, but since you're tanky, you don't really need to use the support gem into that. It's just better to get more quality of life, more AoE, more damage. Plus gem level is also good. Something worth mentioning is that it seems like they've fixed a lot of the support gems for Plague Bearer, because it used to be that you couldn't socket a lot of things into it, kind of like, I think Deep Cuts couldn't go into it, mostly the damage-related supports. I think it used to be that you could only socket like plus gem level, Astral Projection, and AoE, and that would be it. But you can socket just about anything now, including Bursting Plague, which is notable, not necessarily for this build, but maybe for another one. But if you want to go pure poison, since Plague Bearer has, where is it? Or I mean, yeah, it's this one. Am I wrong? There used to be a tab here, wasn't there? Yeah, like, since Plague Bearer gives you Plague Nova, and then Plague Nova has a 100% chance to poison, you can get guaranteed Bursting Plague explosions off of it. And usually the poison that you inflict from Plague Bearer itself cannot store back into itself, which is why you want to do the whole loop with Herald of Blood. But now that they've fixed the support gems on this, what you can do is you can socket Bursting Plague, and then the guaranteed poison is going to trigger the poison explosion. The poison explosion is going to apply poisons as well, as long as you have chance to poison on your passive tree or like a support gem here. And then those explosions applying poison will feed back into Plague Bearer. So you could technically make like a pure poison build which doesn't need Herald of Blood and just relies on these two. Not what I did for this character, but worth noting. Like, the socketing fixes for Plague Bearer are very noteworthy. And then I'm just using scavenging plating. Like, this is really interesting, because since for this specific setup, you only need these 3 support gems to get your loops going, you have 1 free socket, which you can usually just get like ink AoE or just quality of life stuff. But what I figured I could do was, I could put corrosion here, and then the poisons inflicted by Herald of Blood, when I'm clearing the map just casually walking through, will be breaking armor. And why that's important is because then, by getting scavenge plating, you will be getting your scavenge plating stacks, which they give you thorn, which is kind of whatever, but you want it for the more armor. Maximum is 10, so you get 40% more armor. And since this is an armor stacking character, that's huge. It's also like really comfortable because you're just casually getting it without having to do anything at all. Just pressing one button, blasting screens, and then like the corrosion from the poison is going to break armor and you'll get the buff for free. So that's really nice. And then like I'm getting Defiance Banner as well for extra armor, but I very often forget to use the button. Like it's 1 button too many for me, so not really necessary. And yeah, like then we have the main skills, which are Shield Wall and Shield Charge. Shield Charge is only your detonator. It doesn't actually deal much damage anymore. Can I see this here? Collision. There we go. Yeah, it's just 180 now. It used to be like around 1,000, I think. I forget. But it used to be like a very high multiplier. Now it's pretty low. But you use Shield Charge so that you can detonate Shield Wall. So you usually just want quality of life stuff here. Like it could be faster attacks or I don't know. But Shield Wall, where is it? Attack 195, 100% more damage. I suppose it's just that then. Yeah, like the walls deal 195 times 2 as its base damage. So it's pretty high. It's like about 50% of what you used to get off of Shield Charge itself. But it's good enough. Like it's more adequated for stacking both of these hits, and you can like set up multiple walls, so if you hit multiple times and you're scaling your hit damage, then that'll be very solid. But for poison or for bleed, it's not the best thing, but as you just saw, it still works just fine. So then you just scale bleed, close combat, and heavy swing so that you get even more damage, which means more ailment damage. Now the one thing I mentioned about Blood Hunt, which is a little bit strange, is they changed the way this skill works mechanically. It used to be that it would deal unscalable physical damage, the same as Herald of Blood does. Unscalable physical attack damage. And this kind of modifier you could scale with Gain as Extra. So this is what used to be Blood Hunt. It would deal explosion equal to like 25% unscalable physical. And then you would get Gain as Extra from like Lightning Infusion or Ambrosia, which I'm using just the same, right? These two. I haven't done the same exact maths. I don't know how much damage it should be dealing, but you saw how like 100% of the bled damage was dealt as a hit. And then what this states is 25%. So I'm not sure if they changed the text, but not the way the skill works mechanically. So then Gain as Extra is still applying to this, although it shouldn't. Or the other option would be that it says enemies lose life equal to 25% of blood loss. So then maybe by getting bleed magnitude, which is what we're just incidentally scaling as a bleed character, maybe that's what's shooting this all the way up to 100%. But it doesn't make much sense to me if that's the case either, because life loss is not the same as bleed. So bleed magnitude should also not apply here. Regardless of what it is, I think it might be a bug or it's unintended, but I could be wrong. Either way, as you saw with the boss fight, we're actually dealing 100% of the consumed blood to the bosses, so yeah, something is weird here. Yeah, like since I was doing the whole armor stacking kind of mechanic, it gave me an opportunity to play Tactician, which I barely ever want to play or ever have a reason to play. And truth be told, like, sure, it works, it's nice, but I think it's probably better if you just stick to playing a Titan, and then you just go down this route. You can get some, like, Ink AoE, you can get some, maybe block chance, because you're still using Lay Siege, which also got severely nerfed. You can get some life regen, which is fine. So you just pave here, and then you cut your branch, like, I don't know, like right around there probably, and then the tree is the same. And if you go Titan, then the only thing that would change is that you would get the hulking form so that the small passives are amplified, and then that will yield more armor. You also have another ascendancy node, which gives you more armor from your body armor, so then you would have to use pure armor body armor instead of a hybrid evasion energy shield. Or, oh, this is energy shield? Huh. That's weird. But yeah, evasion armor is what I meant. So instead of going hybrid, you just go pure armor. What else would change if you go Titan? I think it would be mostly that. Because as a tactician, instead of getting those ascendancy points, what we got was this thing. Gain deflection equal to 20% of armor. And then the evasion as extra ailment threshold doesn't really matter because we're going iron reflex. So all of our evasion is turning into armor, which is a very nice way to just skyrocket your base armor far higher than it should be. And even if you were a Titan, and you weren't using evasion armor on your body armor, it would still be a good idea to get this, just so that you can get some hybrid shields, boots, and helmets. The gloves, you would still want to be pure armor, just because right here, there's also a notable, which gives you +1 evasion per +1 armor on gloves, so it doubles your armor value, basically. But yeah, the tree is, outside of that, mostly the same. You get the chance to inflict ailments, which would be amplified as a Titan, and then it would be much more manageable for you to cap out your chance. You would get more bleed magnitude. You get generic fizz damage, because that scales the explosions on Plague Burst, as well as Plague Bearer and Iron Ward, should you choose to do that. You get increased ailment magnitude here. You got the same increased physical damage here. I guess that's another thing that I should mention. Another severe nerf that this build took is that they sneakily, like, not only did the base block chance, or I guess the block chance cap, go down from 75% all the way down to like 35. So that's a 50% damage loss when it comes to Lay Waste, right? Or Lay Siege. But on top of that, it's like an additional 50% damage nerf, because it used to be that you would just get 75 block chance, you'd get this node for 75 increased damage generic across the board, and then you would get another node over here which did the same thing. But they changed this node as well, so you're losing another damage scaling, or generic damage scaling method. So now rather than doing that, if you want to increase your generic damage, in this case generic physical damage, since that's what the explosions from Plague Bearer and Plague Burst are, then you want to get the, this is still good, it's still 35. You want to get generic physical here and here, but another like very gimmicky way to get even more of these generic damage increases is by getting Jack of all trades, because this is just across the board damage, which will scale all of those forms of damage, and then you just have to try to get your attributes to be balanced out. So this is probably the best way to get generic damage now. And yeah, since we were going for the whole deflection chance, I just took glancing blows so that the deflect chance is lucky. Evade chance is unlucky. We don't care about that because we're converting it all to armor anyways. If you go Titan, you wouldn't use this, but you know, I'm pretty sure it would still more than make up for it with the other ascendancy point where you get more armor from your body armor, because that multiplies with everything on the tree. And it's hard to say how much the deflection chance from armor is contributing to the defensive mitigation on this character, but I don't know. I'm sure it would be comparable. But yeah, I think that's mostly everything I have to say. One of the other things that is worth mentioning on Tactician is that, sure, you get your deflection rating off of armor, so you get more mitigation. And then you get this node, which says persistent buffs have 50% less reservation. I wasn't exactly sure how that was gonna work out, but it turns out it's technically as though you have 216 spirit. You get this 8% from this tiny node here, and then for the sake of reserving spirit from all of these nodes over here, these all take a 50% cut on their reservation cost. So it's kind of like you're randomly walking around with 216 spirit. That's surprisingly far more powerful than I expected. But the downside is that were you to complete this character and get your additional ascendancy nodes, I'm not really sure what you would do with them. You can get the like banner stuff since you're using Defiance banner, but it's not that noteworthy. And then even then, once you get this, like what would you do with the final 2 points? You're not really using allies. You're not immobilizing anyone. You're not scaling minion damage. You're not using totems. And putting a cap on your physical reduction is probably a bad idea, so I don't know. Like, that's another issue that you run into with this character, whereas if you go Tactician, then you just get hulking form for 2 points. You get more maximum life for 2 points. And then you get more armor for 2 points as well. So that completes your ascendancy nice and neatly. And then with the whole spirit issue, all you do is you just like drop Defiance banner because you're not really using that anyways. You drop Iron Ward because you're mostly just using Plague Bearer. So then if you need to reset your Plague Bearer, you can just do one combo of Shield Wall, Shield Charge, and you're good to go. And you would be running with 30, 60, 90, 120 total spirit. So as I mentioned previously, you just get like 20 spirit on your amulet, and yeah, that's all you need. But yeah, this was a fun character to mess around with. I was pleasantly surprised with a mitigation from armor, as many other people have been. Surprisingly enough, the chain reaction from Herald of Blood with Poison and Plague Burst is still in the game, so that's very solid. Shield skills took a nerf when it comes down to applying ailments with them, but for hit damage they're still good. And even though there is a nerf, this is still pretty decent. And yeah, I think that'll be it. Hope everybody is doing well.